Hello, my name is Emenanjo Nwadiei, and I'm giving a response to Proposition 8 in California being overturned. I guess one would wonder why I would be giving a response to this or whatever, since I don't live in California and I'm currently here in Texas. But I just felt from my other rants, I felt this rant was one that I felt at liberty to talk about. Uh, one one thing that I must agree with the homosexuals with on this statement is they say, uh, how can Christians say y'all are trying to redefine marriage and destroy marriage when in reality that's exactly what Christians have done for the last 300 to 500 years, is constantly redefine marriage. Here, well, one example of how marriage has been redefined is with uh, who is appropriate age for one to marry. As everyone knows, the founding fathers, during their time period, it was very common for an older man, even in his 50s, to marry a girl that was 13 or 14 years old. Now, such a thing is, in many parts, not only illegal, but even in the places where, in some states where a parent, they had to give their consent, it's still something that's extremely frowned upon for a much older man to be marrying a teenager. The person is stamped with a mental illness where he's a pedophile. Uh, in other ways where marriage has been redefined in this country is with the role of the husband and wife. Uh, for since human history has been recorded, and before that, basically since the human being, the Homo sapien, has been walking the face of the earth, marriage has been a business arrangement between two families. The Usually the father of the groom would go and he would seek a bride for his son, and he would pay a bride price. And in some places, like in India, they pay a groom price. But most, the father would go and he would be like, this woman would be good, a good wife, I believe, for my son. So I'll be willing to give you livestock or gold or diamonds or some other precious metal or precious stone. And then when paper monies came into existence, then that was given as a dowry for the bride. Now in this current society, this is not the case. In fact, most people, especially in the last 100 years, have been, people get married when they're quote unquote in love. But arranged marriages here in the United States was very common as late as the 1920s. But now, amongst Christians here in America, that's something that is almost unheard of, except for maybe the Church of Latter-day Saints. And also the role between husband and wife, as far as obedience, that's definitely changed. The ideal wife, as late as like the 1950s and 60s, was June Cleaver from the show Leave It to Beaver. Now I would almost say, especially amongst feminists, she's the antithesis of what a good wife should be. If anything, a good wife is the one who is basically controlling the relationship. Because they say 50-50, but the reality is there's no really such thing as 50-50. Usually there's going to be a power struggle with any business. Even in a business partnership, there's going to be a struggle for who has control. And in many cases, if you speak to a man who's been married in this country for 10 years, he'll be basically saying the secret to his marriage's success is that he does what his wife tells him to do. Amongst the Christians, so in most marriage vows, it was said that the wife was to love, honor, and obey her husband. Now it's the norm for Christians when they get married to write their own vows, in which this is excluded, even though the Bible mentions that the man is the head of the woman, as Christ is the head of the church. And also the one, and there's also several other verses where it speaks about the woman's role as being obedient to her husband. But even when that's read to a Christian woman, this is something that she frowns upon and not only dislike but hates. So that's another way Christians have redefined marriage. And also another way that it's been redefined is child care. Throughout human history, the female has been a primary caregiver. Now, in a marriage of today, the model that's used is called the androgynous child care model, which means both parents engage in feeding of the child and changing of the child's diapers and stuff of this nature. So even with thousands of years of biblical exegesis about what marriage is and what its role is, Christians have constantly redefined marriage. So homosexuals are correct in saying if Christians can redefine and reinterpret the Bible contrary to thousands of years of biblical exegesis by the greatest theologians, then why can't we change the Bible and reinterpret it the way we want to interpret it? If you guys can, what gives you the right to change it and we can't change it? And I'm completely in agreement with them. And once again, I say this out of a matter of fairness, because as far as I know, no close family members of mine are homosexual, nor, as far as I know, none of my friends are homosexual. But like I said, once again, in a matter of fairness, if, as the old saying goes, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. So hopefully you'll take this into consideration. I'm just basically saying it for food for thought, and hopefully you'll have a nice day. And once again, my name was Emenanjo Nwadiei. Goodbye.